I'm Wendy Brickman of Brickman Marketing, and welcome to the Brickman Banter Show. Today is my very, very special guest. I'm so pleased to have Dick Guttman. He's founder of Guttman Associates, a top celebrity PR firm in Beverly Hills, and author of an incredible book everyone has to read called Starflacker, and it's about the golden age of Hollywood. Welcome, Dick.
Hi, but do me a favor, spell Flacker for them.
Start with?
Spell Flacker for them.
Okay, and we'll probably have it online, but it's www.starflacker, STAR, F as in Frank, LACKER.com. And what's so kind of you is you can, and I've told a lot of friends who are buying your book, by the way, that you could download a few chapters from that website, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was very kind of you. So let's start out by your telling us a little bit about your early background and how you ended up in the field of public relations as a press agent.
Okay, well, I was a film student at UCLA.
Right.
But my minor was psychology, and I did much more in psychology than film. And because at that time, they were teaching us to be film teachers or documentarians. They said it wasn't a trade school. They weren't trying to teach us to get in the business. So we had to form Delta Kappa Alpha, which was a film society. And I started to bring George Stevens and people out to UCLA for that. And finally, they got the idea. They weren't very happy about it. But I had always trained to be a journalist. But UCLA didn't have any journalism.
Right.
So I had like 5, 6 majors, and a friend of mine said, come over to film. It should be fun. And I did. But I was still basically trained as a journalist. And so one time I lost my job. I was working the 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. shift at the airport loading airplanes going to school. I lost that job because they found out I was a student. And so I was going to any place that the Student Bureau of Occupation sent me. I go to this company in Beverly Hills, Rogers and Cowan, and it seemed nice enough. I thought they had something to do art because they had all those cheap Musée d'Art Moderne posters all over. And I was putting things in envelopes and delivering things. And one day I ring the doorbell and Kirk Douglas answers. And I think, Kirk Douglas, what is it these guys are doing? I never heard of publicity. And so I went back and I started reading the memos I was distributing. And I thought, well, I know how to do this. This is journalism and this is film. Those are two things I know.
Right.
So I got the copy boy job, and there was one guy there who was quite a pro, and he saw that I'm a pretty good writer, and he saw that I could do that, and so he was helping me. And he says, you got to. The first rule is you got to make your break. You got to make your break. You create something that don't wait for it to come. So at that time, the biggest star in Hollywood was Jack Webb. It was at the time of
Dragnet.
Dragnet. Yeah, Dragnet. And but he was just big. He had turned everything around, and he was a movie star too. He was in Sunset Boulevard. But he made directed a movie called Pete Kelly's Blues. It was about his favorite subject was jazz and blues, and so he made this. And it had all these great musicians, Peggy Lee, Ella Fitzgerald. It was terrific music, not that good a movie. And they didn't know what to do with it. And they were going to lose Jack Webb as a client because I'd read these memos. And I said, we're going to lose him. You don't know what to do with the film. So I went to the music department at UCLA. I was still going to UCLA.
Schoenberg Hall.
Give me that 600-seat theater, and I'll bring Jack Webb in to do a seminar on jazz, and he'll bring all these great. I can't promise you how Peggy Lee and Ella Fitzgerald. There's the chances there. They got behind it, so I take it in, I write it up, give it to this guy who was promoting me. He gives my presentation to Warren Cowan, who basically invented public relations in Hollywood, and Warren takes it to his partner, senior partner, Henry Rogers, and gives it to him. And Henry Rogers turns to Warren and says, let me get this straight. You want to put our clout client in the hands of the office boy. And Warren said, you have a better idea? And so they let me go with it. And we get there. Uh, Jack came with all the musicians, and when they arrived, there were 800 people in the 600. The fire wardens weren't kicking them out; they wanted to see it too. So it just was madness. And Jack gave such a beautiful presentation. The music was spectacular. It was a great evening. The audience was going crazy. And so uh, after it, Warren goes back. He says, "Jack, we can get out the back." He said, "No, I want to work my way through them." He was eating up that audience. And so we get to the bus, and he turns to Warren. He says, "Warren, I never thought I'd say this to anyone but a beautiful woman, but you just gave me the greatest night of my life."
Oh,
So I was press agent. I had to hire me then.
wow, that's great. You showed chutzpah with that.
But actually, I could have taken it further. They were so relieved to save their biggest client that they let it go. I didn't know better, but a year later, what I would have seen was you take the show and you put it on the road. You take it to Kansas City and New Orleans and Chicago and New York. You put it on for charity, and you're selling this movie. That would have sold the movie, which didn't get sold. It went out and it did not much. But I didn't know. I wasn't that aware that I could extrapolate that in my mind.
Well, I would say everything's a learning curve, and we have the Monterey Jazz Festival here.
Oh, you think it's sensational. I handled the Monterey Film Festival once, and it was
right. Okay. Right.
I got a chance to work with Jimmy Stewart. That was
right. I remember him vividly. So I want to start out by also asking you, maybe there's some favorite times in your career as a press agent for so many top Hollywood celebrities that you would want to talk about. There was an example. Do you have another one? And then I have some other questions, of course.
My problem is I have probably about 342.
Well, you have, and let me just show the audience. You have, is this part one of the book, Starflacker?
I didn't, after I finished it, I figured it was a terrible act of ego to make a 670-page book, but I didn't want to leave things out.
I agree.
What I wrote was actually twice as big, and maybe sometime I'll pull that out.
Yeah, I want to read it. No, there were so many incredible stories, and it just brings it to life. And also, you could sit it down. You didn't have to read in one.
Well, the story of my life was timing, because I timed it it wasn't the tail end of the golden age, but it was smack dab in the middle of it. And the golden age was golden because they had, everybody talked about these monster movie magnates, the guys who ran the studios, like Harry Cohns and the Goldwins and the Jack
Zanuck.
And it was true. There were, Goldwyn was sort of an amusing monster, but he was still a monster. But they abused, they were autocrats, but they loved movies. They loved making good movies. They knew that they had to develop great stars, build them. They could build them by casting them in this role and that role. And if Kai Powerfeld had a film that was a clinker, Daryl Zanuck put him into Blood and Sand, and then suddenly he was the romantic star of the Western world. And they developed great directors. I was going to do a chapter on the directors that were there for that. And I went through this list of directors, and I had 242, and I was only on the letter M. They were incredible. And actually, one of my great thrills is I got to handle all of these great directors too. And people like Louis Milestone, who did All Quiet on the Western Front, and Billy Wilder. Billy Wilder was really sort of the architect of my life too, because I was lucky enough to work on Love in the Afternoon, and that changed my life.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that was sort of, when you talk about the golden age of Hollywood, what years are you thinking about?
I think the golden age was from about 1934, because they were building, they would have a Preston Sturges, a writer, and a Billy Wilder, and then they realized that if they can write, they can direct. And suddenly you had this flow of sensational directors and great writers, and they were responsible. And then they recognized a built talent. I handled Dan Johnson. I really loved Dan. He was so he was sort of distant and sweet, and but he was built up. He would go do fencing lessons. They gave him all the attributes of stardom.
Right.
They were actually one of my favorite moments was during the 60s. I represented a lot of the great comedians. That was the decade where they had all the comedy albums.
Yeah, we bought them.
And so I had one of these comedians up in San Francisco. Gisela and my wife and I went up because we were going to see him. I'm just losing his name, but he was. They were all very neurotic, and so the worst thing in the world was to have to listen to their new album with them watching.
Right.
It was torture.
You have to laugh.
We walked in and he says, "Oh, I want you to listen to my new album." So Gisela had never experienced it before, and you have to laugh madly when it's all amusing, and they would be judging you. They go, "Oh," or however you responded. And when we walked out of there, she said that was an ordeal. And I said, so as we went on, he said, "Are you coming to both shows?" I said, "No, I have Van Johnson is doing Bye Bye Birdie at the St. Francis, and we'll be going there for Van Johnson, the Red Shoes, the Red Sox, the last time I saw Paris. He's my favorite. I love him. You think maybe he could come to the midnight show?" I said, "Look, he gets worn out, but I'll ask him." So Van, we'll see him afterwards. Van, I was at Shelley Berman. I said, "Shelley Berman, you're his god. It's the Red Shoes. The last time I saw Paris, he would make his career if you would go to this tonight." "Oh, Kitty, I'm so tired." "No, you got to be there. You have to be there at midnight." We're there 10 to midnight. There's no Van Johnson. Shelley Berman's in the wings looking to see if he's gotten to the
Neurotic.
10 after midnight, he has to come out. There's no, at 15 after midnight, Van shows up. So Shelley's relieved now. He's really winging it. And the Van sits down and they come over and they say, Mr. Johnson, some complimentary champagne. "Thank you so much." He tastes it and he says, "I'm sorry, it's flat." And Shelley's watching this. They've just given flat champagne to his god. And they bring another one back. "It's flat too." And the third one, they come back and they pour it for him. As he's bringing it to his mouth, Gisela, my wife, reaches over, puts her hand over the glass and says, "Van, if this is flat, I'm pouring it over your head."
She's great. She's great.
Oh, yes, it was wonderful. It was good.
That's great. Right.
You could have with these people because you could play games that just their eccentricities were extraordinary. James Mason was probably the most interesting because he was very cruel. I mean, he was a wonderful guy, but he would be cruel in his humor. One time he called me he was doing Lord Jim in Thailand. He calls me at 3:00 in the morning. "Yes," he says, "Dick, I have this photo shoot tomorrow. I don't like the clothes they have for me for it." I said, "You're calling me about that at 3?
What are you going to do about it?
You're at the office." I said, "Then why did you call my home? You know it's 3 a.m. and I'm not talking to you, slam." And I heard that laugh from him. It was just incredible creatures. And I mean, one of them, probably the most dignifying, was Greer Garson. She was just an extraordinary person. And my mom's favorite person, not actress, my favorite person in the world. Mrs. Miniver was for her the quintessence of what motion picture art was. So, and I don't think I was a very good son, and I caused her problems. But at one time, I'm driving her someplace, and I said, "Mom, do you mind that we're going past Bel Air? I have a client. I'm going to drop something off the driveway. I'm just going to go." And we can pull into the driveway, and I go in, and Greer answers the phone. She said, "Dick, how wonderful you're here. It's Saturday. Come in." And so I said, "Greer, I'm sorry, my mom's in the car. She's with me." So my mom's sitting there, and there's a tap at the window, and Mrs. Miniver is, "You're in for tea." And it made up for all the terrible.
Yeah, right. Right. All the things you did over the years to her. No, they're very special people, and they know it.
Yeah.
But some of them are kinder than others. We'll put it that way. right?
Some of them acted the role that they were playing, and but others, but James was he was just a mischievous guy. There was a time where there was this big um, political uh, uh, scandal in London where they had these girls that were being passed around like lollipops, and so all the media wanted to talk to the British actors, most of whom I handled, and
Right. That's
nobody wanted to go near it. And so I called James. I said, "Look, maybe you want to do this, or they want to talk to you about the such and such exposure." And he said, "No, I'm playing tennis at the Beverly Hills Tennis Club, at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Have them come over, whatever they want." So, James, what do you think about this new scandal in London? He said, "Throw the old scoundrels out, bring the new scoundrels in." That was all the headlines for James Mason, saying, "Throw the old scoundrels out, bring the new scoundrels in."
he sounds remarkable.
No, he was incredible. His divorce from Portland was from Pamela was very scandalous, and we were at the you couldn't park when you got there, so we always took a limo. And as we were driving back one evening after part of the trial, we're going past the Beverly Hills Hotel. And in those days, they had newsstands where they had big headlines of what the news is, and people stop and buy the paper.
Sure.
Go there, we see the Herald Examiner, the Herald Express had a headline that said, "Mason accused of habitual adultery." That was a headline across the whole paper. And I'm so shocked. And then James did his little scoff and he said, "Well done, Guttman."
Yeah, right. You earned your money that day, getting him in the press. Hey, you were above the fold, right?
Yeah, but he was fantastic. We burned down, we lost a lot of things in the 93 fire. The one that killed me was he had done a portrait of me, writing lies about him, while my alter ego in heaven was holding our pet alligator who had unfortunately died. And then underneath it said, "Mason done this for Guttman with admiration and affection." And
Oh,
I had brought it home to have it framed and that night.
that's sweet. Now you got to take pictures of your pictures before another mudslide. So let me ask you this. How did you handle working on, this is one of my professional questions. How did you handle working on helping to obtain Oscar nominations for multiple clients at the same time in the same category?
Well, when I started at Rogers and Cowan, at one point, it was a company I did with Jerry Pam, and it was Guttman and Pam was kind of an empire too. We had most of the European clients and really good clientele. But when I was at Rogers and Cowan, the old picture from MGM where it says "more stars than in the heavens." Rogers and Cowan had more stars than MGM had.
Well, you did something right.
I was 21 years old and I was working with Jane Wyman and these people who were
legends.
They were acting icons, and it was so extraordinary. But I got used to it. I got to the point very quickly where I wasn't afraid of stature. You have to do that, and that served me very well. But because of that, one time Rogers and Cowan had 4 of the 5 actor nominees, and I'm handling. It was Tony Curtis and
they have to buy your book. They have to buy your book to find out the other 3.
I remember with Sidney Poitier, with the film he did with Sidney Poitier, and what we would do is divide it up. So
divide it up.
Friends was Maximilian Schell, and because I handled all the German stars, but Max was a friend, and he was nominated for Judgment in Nuremberg, as was Spencer Tracy. So we didn't really feel he was going to win. And Paul was nominated. Paul Newman was nominated. One of the great people of all time, apart from being a great actor, just a great guy. And Paul was nominated for The Hustler. Certainly deserved the Oscar. They all, that was everybody should have got.
That's the problem.
But so I took Max because he was a friend, and somebody else took Paul, and Max won. And
the campaign was better.
no, I don't know what it was. Max wasn't a very big role in Judgment of Nuremberg, but he came as a big surprise. It was a different kind of acting. You know, most of the acting was sort of actor studio. He was very romantic, dramatic, and that caused some problems with not with Paul, but with his entourage. But another time with Paul was I was at a lunch with some other PR people, and they said, there's a story about you that I always wanted to find out if it was true. One of these press agents said. I said, a story about me? What could that be? He says, well, it was about Paul Newman asked you to see his movie and asked what you thought, and then you told him and he fired you. I said, that never happened. That wasn't Paul Newman. And then I suddenly remembered WUSA was a film that meant a lot to him because it was the first film about right-wing radio becoming a big power in America.
Here we are today.
But that was ahead of the time. And it was the whole cast were my friends and clients, Cloris Leachman, Larry Harvey, Tony Perkins, Paul, Joanne. It was, I cared about that film because I loved everybody in it. And so Paul runs it for me at Paramount. Just the two of us. Comes down and he says, okay, what did you think? I don't want to tell him what I thought. And I said, well, Paul, I think what we can do is this, all these great songs by this Neil Diamond kid, we can take those. You and Joanne will send that out to all the media. And he says, cut the crap. He says, tell me what you think, and don't tell me what you think I want you to think. I said, yeah. He said, yeah. I said, okay, who am I pulling for? That's the worst thing you say. If you're not pulling for somebody, why are you watching the movie? And he knew it was true. And he said, thanks. And so I drove back to Rogers and Cowan, and I walked in. They said, Mr. Cowan, my boss, wants to see you right away. So I go in. And Warren is sitting there. And he says, I just got a call from the producers of WUSA. You're fired from the film. They don't want you working on it. We're working on it still. They don't want you on it. Well, I actually continued to do it. But I said, really? I said, who told you this, Paul? He said, it doesn't make any difference. I said, no, I want to know, did Paul call you and tell you that? And he says, no, it was someone else. It was the producer. He said, what did you do? I said, well, Paul showed me the film, and he said, tell me what you think. Tell me what you really think. And Warren looked at me, he was sitting in his chair, and then he rose up like some sort of demon, and his hands were reaching for the ceiling and the sky, and he said, and you told him.
So, right. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't,
Because, Paul, I heard other stories where some actress was working with him on a film, and he gave her a tape of something he had done for Playhouse 90. He says, look at this and tell me what you think. And it was terrible. And so she came back the next day and said, what do you think? And she said, you're trying to trap me. It was terrible, Paul. What did you want me to say? He loved her. It was somebody that was telling him the truth.
Right.
He didn't tell him the truth.
Right. Which it's awkward. So another question. Creativity is part of PR, I think, and you do. I think you've staged events and maybe even publicity stunts. Do any specific ones come to mind?
About 1,000. But the two that I really cared about most were I was handling when I first started. We had a really fast, when I started my own company, we had a really fast rocket up because Fred Roos, who made all the films with Coppola, who went to UCLA with us, had done this, got Universal to make a movie of this kid, George Lucas. He had this idea, a film about kids. It was called American Graffiti. And they hated it. And so they didn't want to offend Coppola because they knew he was going to be doing great films. And they said, I tell you what, Francis, you put your own guys on this film. So we get this film, and handling it as the studio would have handled it. And right away I saw it was kids would go crazy. And I immediately knew that we were going to sell it through DJs all over the country. I was going to use them to open up the thing.
It's the werewolf. What was his name? Yeah, right.
Right?
I wanted to say the werewolf. What was it? The guy in American Graffiti.
Wolfman Jack.
Wolfman Jack, right.
The head of Universal said, what is a Wolfman Jack? Is this a horror film? They really didn't understand this film.
Right, because I said werewolf, right.
So I started getting the DJs to do screenings, and the film was taking off all by itself. At which point they fired us because they wanted it to be our success and wanted it to be theirs. But Candy Clark and some of the others came and wanted us to handle it. I got her an Oscar nomination, and Cindy Williams was a longtime friend and client, but not at that time. And she said, "Why did you get Candy an Oscar nomination, not me?" I said, "She asked."
She asked. Well, yeah.
I always said, I can't understand. Was that a 50s film or was that a 60s film? She said, we always thought it was 1950-12.
Right. It was such a great film, and you did a great job.
Well, the couple of them I really loved because we handled Gene Hackman. Just when we were starting, Gene had just done, I had touched him when I was doing Bonnie and Clyde for Warren Beatty. Warren calls me and he says, remember Gene Hackman from Bonnie and Clyde? I said, yeah, he's great. He says, well, he's in this new film called The French Connection. I want you to handle it. So this was like 2 months after I had started my company. So, of course, Gene wins the Oscar for it. But then he did another film with Francis called The Conversation. And Paramount, it was a Paramount film. Coppola had already done Godfather 1 and didn't win Best Director because I think Bob Fosse won for, probably was for Carousel, not Carousel, was it with Liza Minnelli?
Yeah, Cabaret.
Cabaret. And so in this one, they wanted to make sure that, Godfather 2 was a much better movie than Godfather 1, and they knew it. And they didn't want anything getting in the way. Well, Francis had squeezed in The Conversation before he started Godfather 2. And they were trying to ignore that. They didn't want it to get in the way. And so I told Fred Roos, get this film, I'm going to put this film in Cannes, and it'll get a face. And it won the Golden Lion or whatever it was, the Palme d'Or. And but still, Paramount was really afraid of it because it was going to be coming out at the same time as Godfather in the same year. They didn't want to screw things up. They knew this was a great art film, but it could get in the way of his getting all the awards for Godfather 2. So they opened it on the films open on Wednesdays, and they opened it on the Wednesday after the Academy Awards. So all that week, the papers would be filled with anything that won Best Song was going to have a full page. They were going to have this little ad for this little film conversation. And they booked it in the two biggest barns in town just to make sure it died big and visibly. They wanted it out of the way. And I saw the film, and I really loved it. And then we got closer to the Oscar season starting. They sort of told Fred to let me do what I could with it, but don't worry about it. So I'm sitting there, I have no idea how, nobody's seeing this film. Paramount is not showing it to the people in the industry. You can't vote for what you don't see. So I'm sitting there, there was, at that time, there was one channel in Hollywood, TV channel called Z Channel.
We subscribed.
Old classic films.
Yeah, it was great.
So I called them.
Because of you.
Sorry?
I said Z Channel was great because of you, because of what you did. I read about it.
Already great, because they had a guy who...
Jerry Harvey.
Yeah, thank you. He was a genius, and he did the booking on that. And on this one, he was very kind, and he turned over. And I said to them, I will give you a 40-minute interview with Gene Hackman. I want you to show this film 5 times. And I'll pick the times that when we show it. And then I get a call from Fred Roos saying, Francis doesn't want to do it. I said, why? I said, he said that he got a call from the guy who owns the cable station in Fresno. He's not going to play it if it goes on C Channel first. I said, find out for me how much that would cost you. He called back, he said $6,000. I said, that's 2 ads. You're going to do it. We're going to put this on. Because somebody sent me an ad and it showed where Z Channel was, and it was an overlay of the Academy. The Canyons, Beverly Hills, Bel Air,
Westwood.
Everywhere there was the Academy was where they showed.
Target marketing.
And so it went on, and nobody was really paying attention, but they saw it. And the nominations come out, and Godfather is nominated. Godfather 2 nominated Best Film, Best Director for Coppola. And Conversations nominated Best Film, Best Director for Coppola. And now Paramount saying, you've cost us $1 billion. This is terrible. And I said, no, I said, they're not going to vote for this film. They'll vote for Godfather because they know they can win. They know they can't win this. But people, this film's going to help Godfather. So Francis wins both of the films.
Good.
And I thought that Paramount hated me. And the next year I got a call and they said, we have a Ingmar Bergman film out, something of a marriage, it was Scenes from a Marriage. It was a 6-hour film. So they said, call the guy who invented art films in Los Angeles, a guy named Max Lemley, was playing in his theater, the Santa Monica, the Royal, and ask him if he'll do it. And I said, Max, how many audiences has Ingmar Bergman delivered to your door? And he said, why, what do you want? I said, will you let me show this on Z Channel while you're showing it there? He said, yes, because of Ingmar. And so we put it on, and I get this call from, it didn't get nominated, but I get a call from Max Lemley. He says, I want to thank you. I said, why? He says, you're showing this film on Z Channel. It's 6 hours, and the TV screens there were sort of oval. They weren't a square. And he said you couldn't read the subtitles, but everybody was pouring into the theater to see the film because they couldn't really watch it there.
Right. That's funny. We're just about out of time, and I want to just tell our audience that to hear more fantastic stories by Dick Guttman, you've got to read Starflacker, his book, and you can go to starflacker.com on the web, and you can download a few chapters to get a taste of it. But really, there's so many incredible stories. You've lived and continue to live an incredible life, Dick. Thank you so much.
Love those people, and I love the fact that you're holding this to your attention. This is not a book about me.
No, a little bit. All right. Thank you. And stay tuned.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Today's Brickman Banter Show is presented by Wendy Brickman of Brickman Marketing. In 1990, Wendy Brickman moved to the Monterey Peninsula after a career in the entertainment industry in Los Angeles, including Paramount Pictures and studio instrument rentals. Since launching her award-winning marketing firm in Monterey, Wendy has helped hundreds of nonprofits and for-profits jumpstart success, locally, regionally, and nationally, through cost-effective PR, marketing, and social media campaigns and events. Wendy especially enjoys setting up strategic partnerships with her clients and other community members to create win-win relationships. The Brickman Banter Show features interviews with many local leaders and business owners who, like Wendy, are investing their time to make this community even more remarkable. For more information and archives of the Brickman Banter Show, go to www.brickmanmarketing.com. Hello, I'm Wendy Brickman of the Brickman Banter Show and Brickman Marketing, and welcome. I'm so pleased to have as my very, very special guest today, Don Whitaker. He's the owner of the Golden Hammer and a partner in Test of Tyme. Welcome, Don.
Good afternoon, Wendy.
So tell us a little bit about your background.
Born here on Monterey Peninsula, graduated from Monterey High, went to MPC for a little bit, and then decided that I'd rather be in a job where I could work with my hands. So I started at Nat Milne Cabinet Company, a local cabinet shop, and who my dad happened to be the superintendent of. So
That's how it
I
starts.
had a little bit of an in on that one.
For your first job, it helps.
Yeah, it was. A lot to learn too, and and having my father teach me was a plus.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that's how I came to be where I'm at. And then I met one time we were out on the job I had on in Pebble Beach, and I met Scott, and we just kind of gravitated to each other. And finally, we got together with Susanna Silva as the Test of Tyme.
That's right. And tell us about the origin of the name Golden Hammer, though.
Well, that came from a contest that I won, the state of California, through the apprenticeship program. And the top award was the Golden Hammer.
That's great.
And they actually let me have it. It's in my office. And I thought, well, that'd be a good name.
It's a great name.
A little pretentious, perhaps, but something like a goal to strive for.
And you've achieved it several decades later. And we're going to look at some photos now. I'm going to share the screen, and we'll see why you have grown into that name. So let's take a look here, and we'll move us up a little bit. Let's see right there. So this is the Test of Tyme, kind of a ad. Luxury estates by renowned artisans, which is exactly true. And we'll talk about some of these images. But you do architectural art in Carmel, Pebble Beach, but far beyond that. As far east as Utah, as far north as Washington, throughout California. Beautiful, beautiful work for people who really appreciate it. So what are we looking at here?
Well, this is a home in Carmel Valley, and this was a remodel for us. The home was existing, and it had the basic, what we would call bones.
Yes.
Through the finishing and the work we did inside, we upgraded it perhaps to what it should have been from the original. But you can see it had a lot of nice features to begin with that we had to work with.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. In this home?
This right here was, I can't really place it, but it's an example there again of our finishes and the front door, the entry door that kind of says welcome, come on in.
You could find this home as beautiful as this in Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Pebble Beach, Carmel Valley.
Yeah, there's it's a style of house, and the moldings at the top on the roof line are very nice.
Yes, they are.
Which is, it's the embellishments that make this attractive, but it's not overstated at the same time.
Oh, it's lovely. Beautiful windows too. All right. And let's talk about this one.
This is a house in Carmel, and as you look at it from this viewpoint, it's almost like it's isolated. And truly, when you go into it into the backyard area, it is isolated amongst other houses. As you can see, the landscaping is quite extensive, and the rock work is very nice. It blends in. It's got earth tones, and the roof is very nice, like a ceramic roof. And it just has a lot going for it. It also has a fountain there as you first look at it. So
isn't that an antique fountain?
It is an antique fountain.
Yeah, you've told me. Yeah, it's beautiful, and the roof line and yeah.
Yeah, it just has the right accents to it. It's in the range of colors. They're not blasting out at you. They're warming. You feel relaxed when you're in that environment.
You're right, and beautiful Carmel by the Sea. Did you work on the garages as well?
In what way are you asking me that question?
The wood, the carvings.
It's the whole thing. It's the whole package, right? It's like you can see where we've been, because this again, we came to this project after it started, and we added to it.
The windows are beautiful. The
windows, the shutters.
Yes, I think I have a close-up coming up with that.
Well,
yeah, this is amazing sanctuary, and really right off Ocean Avenue, a few blocks, right?
It's close. It's close to that. And this is another Carmel house, and we just finished it up. This also was a remodel, but we expanded it by about 500 square feet.
Oh.
And as you can see there again, the landscaping.
Sorry. Very nice landscaping. Sorry, and a balcony.
And the balcony and all of the details are kind of set it apart. And it's not overdone, but it is intricate in the same time.
I think Carmel by the Sea has not huge lots.
No, they don't. And it's restricted by a percentage of what you can build on it too. And there are height restrictions also.
Right.
So working within that envelope is, trying at times, but as you can see, there are things you can do that enhance the view of it. And this has a good bay view too.
Yeah, it's the bay view, right? And you work not only with your hands, but with your brain. I mean, the design and the layout.
Well, it's a group effort.
That's right. You have a team of talented artisans, but this one, I think it's mostly you. This is one of my favorites.
Yeah, this is a door, an entry in Los Gatos. It's the walnut is interesting. The doors are walnut, and they're French walnut, and so it's a little bit lighter than the Eastern walnut that we use a lot of the times. But there's a lot of carving on this door.
Gorgeous. It really makes a statement, and boy, when you get home or you have your guests, we can have guests, it's just stunning.
Well, the thing is, and in the house, you don't see the house, you just see the doors, but in the scope of it, those are 10-foot tall doors.
Yeah.
So, and a normal entry door that's impressive is 8 foot, so it's another 2 feet higher.
Plus,
but it fits, when you see the whole house.
Right. You'll have to go and take pictures of that. And at the top, that's kind of a beautiful thing with the glass.
Yeah.
Let's light in.
Yeah, let's light in. And actually, when you go through these doors, you go into what's called a great room, and the second story goes up. So it's probably 15 to 20 feet tall.
Wow.
At least, so it's not like you're going into a cramped space. It's wide open there.
And if anybody ever asks why the company's name Test of Tyme, it's because
I don't know, it's got a nice ring to it.
No, it's because these kind of, your work is built to stand the test of time. It's unique, it's custom, I don't know, this reminds me of Italy for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean,
Borghese.
It's got a European flavor to it.
That's right. One of your specialties is old world.
Yeah, but if you look at that door, you also notice that the panels match. The grain goes all the way up.
Yes.
From the bottom up. So that really enhances it because it becomes one piece, really.
Yeah.
It was interesting to work with this material because after all, it sailed all the way over here from France.
That's right. Beautiful. And we'll talk a little bit about some more doors.
Yeah,
this one?
Yeah, this one right here is an interesting project because this was a man cave in Carmel Valley. And so the owner would hang out with his buddies, and he'd smoke cigars, and they had wine down there. And this door actually leads to another storage area underneath the house. And this is all built on an old Carmel River bed. So there's river rock. That river rock you see came from excavating it in that
Wow.
site.
Beautiful. I love what kind of, I always ask Don, what kind of wood is that?
That right there is white oak.
Okay. Beautiful. And the arch, it's beautiful. And this door?
This door is a Dutch door in Carmel.
White oak?
No, this is walnut. This one's walnut. And this one, later on, you'll see the house this one was in.
Okay. It's beautiful too. So you can open the top half, which I've never had one of those Dutch door, right?
You know, that's kind of something that's unique to Carmel in a sense. There were a lot of houses years ago that had Dutch doors. So it's kind of like the Carmel cottage theme. If you go and see some of the old time houses,
Hugh,
they always had a Dutch door.
Hugh Comstock, maybe?
Yeah, him too, but others also. You know, it's just like the bungalow type artist community door, I guess.
Well, it's very welcoming, and of course you may be behind tall gates to do that.
Not in Carmel.
Yeah, it's pretty sleepy. That's good.
This is the opening with it open. That's what the opening.
Oh, that's the same. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And the context, yeah. And that's in Carmel by the Sea.
Right.
That's a beautiful. Lovely. And fresh air. We do have fresh air here. Right by the ocean. It's a few blocks from the ocean, really.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And actually, it's close to town too. So it's ideal for somebody who likes that community feeling, you know, because you can walk around and you can be anywhere in Carmel.
And we have all this al fresco dining now. You can drink and walk home, and you know.
That's true.
I kind of like all the new al fresco dining. I like the again, the window treatment over there with the flowers, and very charming.
It's inviting is what it is.
Pardon me?
It's inviting.
Yeah, very inviting. Very charming. This, I believe, I feel like it's in Pebble Beach, is it?
Yeah, this one's in Pebble Beach, and it's an entryway. It's like a gate is what it is.
Into a courtyard?
Yeah. It's like a fortress. It's almost.
Yeah, well, that's Pebble.
But it's got a nice touch. It's you know, the rock work is nice and subdued. It's not flashy. It blends in, you know. It's really pleasant to look at.
Yeah, the window, the peak of the window over there. I like the glass inset. Is that what it's called? In the glass panes lets light in.
Yeah, it does.
Because other solid doors are dark. So it, you know, how do you get light in? And you guys are very creative about having light enter the homes.
Yeah, but remember, it's a courtyard, so that's just a wall there. It's a thick wall, but it doesn't go back.
But it's nice when you have glass in the door too. And speaking of glass in the door, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, with the ironwork in it.
Yes, and the reflection.
This is also a door for Pebble Beach entry door. These doors are really thick. At the thickest point, they're about 3.5 inches thick. Wow. So they're really sturdy. You know, that goes with the construction of a big house. Your entry doors should kind of match the strength of whatever you're building it to, right?
And I'll give a plug to your website, testoftyme.com. There's a lot of articles about doors and kitchens that people may enjoy reading. And we talk about dazzling doors. Dazzling doors. Okay, now we'll talk. This was in the other home, wasn't it?
Yeah, shutters. This is the one in Carmel. And as you can see, we've got some cut glass there. And that's actually into a garage.
Wow.
But the shutters kind of set the whole thing off. And if you look at the panel, it's got a raise in it, kind of like a V raise. The center line you can see. It's kind of hard to see depth from just a photograph, but that's what's going on right there.
And little pegs or something. Those are cute.
Yeah. And then you have the straps, the strap hinges, and the lock for the shutters, but they're not operating. They're
Yeah, we don't have too many hurricanes, thankfully. No, very beautiful.
well, they're just an accent on that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, now we'll go inside, like to a typical bedroom.
Right. Now, if you come up a little bit more, you can see that the floor right there is the accent of this room.
Gorgeous.
And yeah, it's a, handmade, we made that floor and we put it down. And the doors are open, but it's got a pair of doors that go out into the patio there. And it was shot on a really nice day, as you can see. It kind of makes you want to go outside.
It does. And look, there's chairs right there.
Yeah, really. Just chill out.
Yeah. Did you make the bed or no? The bed frame?
No, I didn't make that frame.
But you do sometimes.
I do make beds, yes.
And tables. Yeah, that's beautiful. Is that like a guest bedroom, master? I don't know.
That one I would think is a guest bedroom.
Yeah, I would think so. What, with your flow out into the patio. Have your coffee outside. This looks more like a master bedroom to me. I don't know.
Yeah, this one right here is another example of the finished product. You've got your arched window with the cut glass in it, and then you have your limestone floor with it's got the same kind of color as the walls, if you'll notice, which is a play off of that. And then we put a finish on the bed to kind of bring it all together.
It's beautiful, very relaxing sanctuary. Looks like. Let's talk about closet space and closets.
This right here is a closet. It's for a Carmel Valley house, and so it's pretty elaborate. It was nice to build that because you don't normally get an opportunity to have that much detail in a closet.
No, it's beautiful. Reminds me of those celebrity closets with all their shoes, but it's stunning.
Well, closet space in a house, as storage space in general, is at a premium, really. It's very important to allow for a lot of storage.
I agree. And maximize space. Those are cute floors too.
Tile floors.
But built-ins, just lovely. All right, next we have an office where we're all spending a lot of time these days. Home office.
Yeah, this is the one in Carmel, and it shows what the woodwork for one thing, and that desk I made.
Wow.
So.
French doors.
Yeah, French doors.
And the windows.
And the windows.
Is this like a mirror just sitting there?
Yeah, it's just sitting there, right? Yeah, I don't think it was hung when this picture was taken.
Right. And the beam ceiling, were you involved with that or no?
Oh yeah, we put the beams up.
Yeah, that's a big part of your work. I mean, beams add so much to a home's.
Well, it's really the total package from.
Right. Always.
You could call it from ground up.
Yeah.
There's a start, then there's a finish.
Well, it's a beautiful finish. I'd love to work in that office. Look at the light, it's just so nice. And you can pull the blinds down if it's too bright.
Yeah, and the garden's really nice looking too.
Yep. And this is a garden. Is this the garden that goes with that?
Yeah, this is the garden.
Ah.
Remember the chairs? There they are. They're inviting you.
That's right. That's right. From the other side. Right. Right. Yeah. And what is this? It's kind of a growing ivy, something?
Yes, right? Ivy on a it's like a fire pit. Really.
Okay. This is like a fire pit here, the metal?
Yeah, it is.
And I I like the fence. You do a lot of fences as well, right?
Well, we do fences, and actually, in this particular case, the owner uh, he built this fence himself
Wow, with a little guidance.
with a little guidance.
Yeah, you have a very, if anybody's in the area, you will give them, and they're interested in your work, you could give them a tour of your shop
Oh, sure.
in Pacific Grove. Yeah. But yeah, I've seen you make a lot of fences, and that's important in a smaller lot too, if you want to have a
Well,
little private.
if you want to have some privacy
Right.
or the
Right.
feeling, it's actually the feeling of privacy, really.
Yes. Right. It's beautiful. I like all that stone. Is that Carmel stone or?
Yeah, that's Carmel stone.
Right. Beautiful. Okay. Well, those beams. Did you get into these beams as well?
Oh, yeah, of course, of course. And this is a great room on the house in Carmel, the one with the Dutch door.
Yes.
This is inside. We did all the windows, the beams, and rearranged a lot of stuff. We raised the ceiling up to a open beam ceiling. It wasn't like that before. Gave it more space. When you walk in and to an open beam ceiling, I've always liked that because it seemed bigger than just
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And the windows and doors, are there doors there too? But I see a lot of windows, which makes it bright
We made the
and
window.
airy.
Yeah.
And the fireplace, I know you do a lot of fireplace mantles and
Yeah, we did pretty much except for the TV.
everything in that room.
No, we
Like
didn't do
tea table.
We didn't do the end tables. No, just
But is that a window seat? I can't tell.
yeah, we did the window seat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. The floors,
And the floors. Yeah.
which are made out of.
Those are walnut right there.
Yeah. Yeah, you understand all the properties of the right wood for the right project. Okay, this looks like a wine or wine
It's
storage.
a wine cabinet. It's a refrigerator. And I guess when I had this picture taken. Of course, you can see it doesn't have a stain on the door, but I had just made that door
Right. You should be proud.
and installed it. That's a nice door.
It is. Beautiful. And I like when you do refrigerator surrounds anyway. This is the theme of these pictures are wineries. Okay, wine.
Yeah, the whole thing is that this is wine storage, right? And
Off the living room, maybe.
well, and it's like it gives it that cellar look without being underground, really. It's like entering a different environment when you pass through that door.
Yeah, like the Middle Ages. Kind of.
Yeah.
Beautiful stone.
I guess it's a place to get away in your own house.
Right. Travel to Europe without leaving the Monterey Peninsula.
For sure.
This is one of my favorites as well. Let's talk about, this is an intricate scene. Talk about that one.
That's the china cabinet right there.
Right. Beautiful.
This is a kitchen. We did beam work there. It's also a remodel.
Island.
You have the island cabinet and the arch door.
Stunning.
And then the clock tower cabinet.
That's right. French antique.
Which goes into an alcove, actually. It's actually a lot deeper than it appears right there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. And this one's another kitchen.
Yeah. This is a kitchen in Carmel.
Okay. Beautiful. Looks like a surround on the refrigerator there.
Yeah,
this is
look close up of that.
And the fireplace.
Yeah, the fireplace, right.
Which we need. And this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, island cabinet.
That would hold so much.
Yeah, really heavy too.
But it's beautiful.
I think it took like 6 guys to put that in the house.
It's not going anywhere. This is another favorite. Beautiful stairwell.
Base in Carmel Valley.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. And this one, we talk about gates.
Oh yeah, this is a gate in Pebble Beach. This gate is made from old water tower.
Huh.
And they're like 3 inches thick by, the planks were 3 inches thick by, I think it was 7 or 8 inches. So we recycled it into this gate right here. And as you can see, it's weathered since we put it in.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I like that you recycle woods too. That's just cool. And here's a garage.
Yeah, this is the garage to that one house. We
Yeah,
see.
the CC, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. And the tile. Is
Yeah,
that tile?
the cobblestones.
Cobblestones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's a little peek at your.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but he looks like he's hard at work.
He does. He does. And his colleague. And it's a big shop in Pacific Grove. And I would say here, how can people reach you?
Well, we can go to our website,
Right.
tyme.com, and we have an office number, 831-655-2008, and you can leave a message. And that's a pretty good way, I think.
Yeah, the website has so much, great examples and great articles. So testoftyme.com. And thank you so much, Don, for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Sure.